Read what it says. It says what I got on my mind. You bled my mama, you bled my papa, but you won't bleed me. And that answers, the questions, the very interesting questions you were asking about, well, what do you think of this and da 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 da. Hey, ain't gonna bleed me.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from Real Black. I guess a couple hours before the show, we got the news that Melvin Peebles, the godfather of black cinema, had passed on yesterday. And so we just wanted, before we get into our topic of discussion for today, we wanted to share some memories and thoughts about Mr. Brer's soul. So I'll start off by just saying some of his work. Uh, Story of a 3-Day Pass, Watermelon Man, Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death, Identity Crisis, Don't Play Us Cheap, The Sophisticated Gents, Bear for the FBI. Uh, you know, the last few years after we did the interview that you saw there, Melvin and I got fairly close, and I definitely consider him a mentor. So the news, while not unexpected, he was 89 years old, and uh, his health was starting to go. It still is a surprise and a shock. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to hand out some flowers. With me on the line is Charles Woods. How you doing, Charles, today?
Hi, Mike, and welcome to the Real Black family. Peace and blessings.
Yeah. No. What are some of your thoughts about Melvin and his body of work? Him as a person. If you have any memories or thoughts on this day.
Well, when I saw the clip you put up, the one thing I can say is thanks to you. I know a couple of times you say, Woods, come on, I'm going over to see Melvin. And I told you, well, I'll pass on that. Um, but I told you to take this along and the poster that you guys were looking at. I wonder where you got that from.
Now stop. Today it's about Melvin. Talk about his work, sir.
Well,
Not about
the
your
whole thing is,
collection.
what I want to say is, I am grateful that you took the poster with you, and I have his signature affixed to it, and it's a memento of a giant, and he's truly the godfather of black exploitation. But what's unique about Melvin is that in the tradition of alternative cinema and those people who want to create alternative cinema, he was at the forefront of saying, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to let those who want to maintain the golden rule dictate my vision, my message. And so, what was unique about Sweet Sweetback's song is that it was at one time the most financially uh, successful independent film of its day, and the um, the messaging in the film when he says, you bled my mama, you bled my papa, but you won't bleed me. What he was saying is that we are going to be our own people. We're going to decolonize our minds, and Melvin will always be remembered as the pioneer of not just black exploitation, but the idea of black cinema.
Absolutely. I was going to say, you know, Sweet Sweetback was something he did after he made Watermelon Man. He financed it independently, distributed it independently, and if not for the success of that film, I'm not sure if it would have we would have had the wave of films that we had in the 70s, or we would have had the template for the subsequent waves of Black independent films that have come since. So that's why we call him the Godfather.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it's funny how things work out, and sympathies go out to his loved ones, his family, Mario, and everyone. But it's interesting that the first film he did in France, La Permission, which is Story of a 3-Day Pass in 1967. Interestingly enough, it was about a black soldier who
Mm.
has this affair with a white French girl, and it causes him a demotion. And it just so happens this the
It's a
theme.
perfect segue.
Yeah,
Perfect segue into what we want to talk about tonight.
but
Um,
but
Go ahead.
completing your thought is when Melvin came to the attention of the American studios, there was this sense that the black audience was fired up to see images, positive images about themselves, different images from what was put in movies in the past. So they reached out to him, and he says they hurried up and got Gordon Parks to produce Learning Tree, just so they could the studio could claim that they had the first black director, and so they released it before Melvin's Watermelon Man. But it was a interesting time. Some of that will be discussed tonight, but he's someone who will never be forgotten for putting in images that had a militancy to it, but also a revolutionary tinge to it, and someone who was going to, like I say, do things his way. And we talked about music. He had Earth, Wind, and Fire on his Sweet Sweetback, So he started a lot of things.
Absolutely. And at the age of 89, he lived a great life. I've got a lot of personal stories that I could share, but um, they're a little too personal. But I will say that he was a true genius. He self-taught filmmaker, cartoonist, musician, stockbroker. He lived many lives inside of his time span, and love him, and we'll all miss him. For those who aren't aware, Criterion Collection is releasing at the end of October a box set of his most seminal work, and it has introductions and commentaries by Mr. Van Peebles himself. So look for that. It's a box set from the Criterion Collection, uh, the essential works of Melvin Van Peebles. So without further ado, let's talk about this tonight's topic. You want to get into it? Do you want to say anything before we start?
Well, I'll just say it's the title is "The White Woman, the Black Man's Kryptonite." Uh, the teaser. I've looked at a lot of the comments on the teaser. Some of the comments that were made, we kind of touch upon it. We will touch upon that. But the thing is, there's so many layers to it. But the main thing I wanted to do is through this piece is expand on my study of interracial romance in the movies and the focus on a particular component of it, which is the destruction aspect. and the focus on the black man, white woman relationship, because uh, one viewer wanted to know, well, I guess he couldn't do the black woman, white man thing. Maybe there's not enough images, but there certainly are. And the one thing I wanted to point out is that this is a multi-layered issue. I hope a lot of people will call in and ask some questions, offer some commentary. But for the most part, until we see what happens tonight, the comments that have been left on the trailer are very interesting, and I thank the viewers for that.
Absolutely. So just so that you're aware, this presentation is pre-recorded. However, you can certainly comment during the video. We'll be posting comments as the video plays, and we'll also be taking your questions through the comment section, as well as online. You can join us in the conversation. We'll give you the StreamYard link. So without further ado, what's it called again, sir? I can't say it.
You always want me to be in trouble. The white woman, the black man's kryptonite.
Okay, Charles. And away.
Hey, boys! Look what I got here! Where are the white women at?
Man, who I sleep with is my own personal business.
Oh, no, man, no. Who you sleep with? The first face you see in the morning is very significant, man. That's where you get your energy from. It's your mirror, Booker. That is your mirror. Can you dig it? Now, man, you ought to be getting your black thing together instead of going around sleeping with the enemy, huh?
All of a sudden, you attacked me.
Miss Blanche, I never
Hush
done...
your mouth. This is my story. You attacked me. You raped me. Now, when Master Hammond comes home, well, I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him what you done.
Well, Denham, the airplane's got it. Oh, no. It wasn't the airplanes. It was beauty killed the beast. Beauty killed the beast.
Hey, everybody, this is Mike, and I'm with
Charles Woods.
And we've got a great topic for you today on Talking Black with Charles Woods. What is this one called, Charles? I'm not saying it.
Well, the title is The White Woman, the Black Man's Kryptonite.
Okay, and why? What do you mean by black man's kryptonite, Charles?
Well, kryptonite, we know, if you're familiar with the story of Superman, Superman is, he is super powerful, but he has a weakness, and that's kryptonite. That can bring him down. That can kill him. That can destroy him. They say, yeah, them guys, they're bound to get in trouble messing with them white women. Why don't they stay with their own kind?
Does it make any difference?
Out here, yes. But if I were to walk in with you, or a girl like you as my wife...
Do you care what stupid and prejudiced people think?
You've never had to fight stupidity or prejudice. Besides, I'd be a fool.
Why?
Because it would be inevitable.
What would be?
That night that she'd forget herself and call me.
I wanted to use the title to pretty much elaborate on something I introduced when I discussed black and white sex, the 3D effect in motion pictures. And when I spoke about the 3Ds, my analysis of motion pictures that deal with interracial intimacy, I always found there was this consistent pattern that you would see three basic components. There was denigration, devastation, and destruction. Denigration is when they would blacken or disparage the white character, either physically or by reputation. The white character who would be involved romantically with the black, there was something they wanted to project as not being virtuous about this person, something criminal about this person, where they could make it okay to have this white person in a relationship with a black. Once they got into this relationship, then I saw another pattern, which is what I call devastation. The romance could never really be consummated or could never really be enjoyed because the pairing is what I call a calamitous coupling. The pairing would cause a lot of discord. A lot of people would be angry. Blacks would be upset with the blacks involved. Whites would be upset with the whites involved. So you would have this devastating circumstance. The environment would be fraught with all kind of hostility and discord. And then finally, which this Kryptonite piece deals with, is to show our viewers that in a number of motion pictures, in particular, when the black person involved in this relationship was a black man, oftentimes the relationship would end tragically. The black would be killed. The black man would be killed. Sometimes, in rare instances, you would have the black man and his white lover, they would be killed. So the Kryptonite thing is getting into this relationship, especially in a context of white supremacy, where the relationship, especially with black men involved with white women romantically, has always been frowned upon by a lot of the extremists, the white nationalists. And so just entering into this relationship, you're courting danger. You're asking for trouble.
My brother!
Where do we start in this discussion?
There is one key film you have to begin with, and that's D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation, released in 1915. This film started a race film industry in response to the Southern Negrophobia imagery that Griffith put into this film, which was based on Thomas Dixon's The Klansman, which was also called The Leopard Spots. This film is a polemic that deals with Negrophobia like nothing else has ever been made before it or since. The one we're discussing tonight is the image of the black beast, where they introduced the black man fiending, desirous of having sexual relations, conjugal relations, however you want to call it, with the standard of beauty, the golden child, the white woman. The character of Flora, in her attempt not to be defiled by this black man, she says, stay away, or I'll jump off this cliff, which she does. She doesn't kill herself immediately, but it ends in her tragic death. But this set up, the way it was presented, it set up the rationale for white vengeance, retribution, to go after Gus or any other black man who wanted to defile, to mongrelize the race, the white race, with his bestiality. This set up the heroic entrance, and as our one-time president of the United States said, the great Ku Klux Klan. And it's interesting, he said it in his history book, the great Ku Klux Klan. The birth of a nation created that rationale where the Ku Klux Klan was promoted in a heroic light. What we see in motion pictures has a way, the way it's been presented, it has a way of impacting how we think in general. Film is used to shape our attitudes, to influence our opinions, and it's another way to continue to program and indoctrinate us and condition us to accept certain things. And one of the dangerous things is that we're in a society that has made the white woman the standard of beauty, and this prize, this thing that having her is like the utmost.
What's that? He says, look at the golden woman.
Gamba, Table Malum Nahi?
Wants to buy her.
Sana Sita Malam Atikadia, Malam Apakeno.
He's offering to trade 6 of his women for Anne.
Some people feel King Kong was an allegory or a metaphor of Jack Johnson, but a key thing to recognize in King Kong is where I show there's this contrivance that just doesn't begin and end with King Kong, but it's evident in a later film where you have a black man and a white woman involved. And so I selected some films to make my point. But King Kong, 1933. Then from 33, we can go a little further ahead and we can deal with 1966 is an interesting film. I don't think a lot of people, Mike, have seen Leroy Jones, who became Amari Baraka. I don't think they've seen his film, Dutchman.
Say man, lover.
What are you, angry about anything? I say something wrong?
Everything you say is wrong. That's what makes you so attractive. Ha.
What Leroy Jones wanted to do with Dutchman is to show that the white woman has been used to help keep blacks from achieving liberation. It's a way to bring them down sexually, to make them lose their cool, forget themselves. If I may, as I told one of the viewers, where the thinking process goes out the window. Throughout history, we've been told that we've always had the expression where the little head controls the big head. And sexually, men, not just black men, but men, how many men have been brought down because of sex? So Dutchman, we have this Lulu character who goes around and she makes victims of black men. She that was her role, and that's what that was the point of the Dutchman as a play, and the polemic that Leroy Jones gave us with that production. 1969, a film also not many people have seen. A lot of our viewers probably haven't seen. It's never been released on DVD. It may be the only way people could see it. It doesn't even air much on television. And that's The Lost Man with Sidney Poitier. And that's in 1969. And interestingly enough, the actress, the white actress who plays his lover, happens to be Joanna Shimkus, whom he fell in love with during the making of the film. And they're still together to this day.
I need to be needed. That's where it's at with me. What about you? I've been expecting fireworks from you. And now it looks like you're just going to steal quietly away. Do you enjoy being a tall, dark secret?
And in Lost Man, death happens to not just the black man, but the white woman as well. But getting into the 70s, the person who epitomized black masculinity on the screen is none other than Jim Brown. And Jim Brown, I mean, when we compare the lovemaking that Jim Brown was allowed to do with white actresses, nothing tops it. I mean, the big film he did was with Raquel Welch, who was the hottest thing of her day when they did 100 Rifles together. But there's a film in 1970 when he does a film called The Grasshopper.
Excuse me a minute, I see someone I have to talk to. Hi, baby.
Hi.
He likes the white stuff, huh?
That's his wife. Nice girl. She's in the show.
I got a show up in my room she can be in.
The Grasshopper has two of the components: denigration.
I introduced him. Of course, I always sample the merchandise before I pass on it.
And destruction. After Jim Brown's Grasshopper, we can go to Slaughter, 1972. There's a film that he did with Stella Stevens. There's a reason why I wanted to show some scenes from Slaughter, because Slaughter is something you can juxtapose with King Kong.
How was it? Huh? How was it? Black Ape teach you something? What did he teach you, huh? Come on, show me.
The character in King Kong is named Anne. They want her for King Kong. Here in Slaughter, the white man refers to the black man as an ape, and his girlfriend's name is Anne.
You want it, don't you?
What started with Birth of a Nation, where black men were presented as brutes, these things are so applicable to what we saw in the movies when they introduced black masculinity, but it was off the hook in blaxploitation. And blaxploitation, they could get away with a lot of raw sexuality because blaxploitation, for the most part, was popular with an urban audience, not just totally blacks, but an urban audience of some hip whites and a lot of blacks like myself, who I was happy to see it, as I mentioned in an earlier conversation, earlier discussion. I was happy to see it. Now, I know there was a lot of negativity in it that can be analyzed. But the thing is, when you're a hungry person, you'll almost eat anything. We were hungry for these kind of images. When Mandingo came out and gave this different image of slavery, I think that's one of the reasons why it was so severely criticized. But what happened in Mandingo, it upset a lot of people because we didn't want to see our brothers and sisters being killed and whatnot. But blaxploitation, which was started by Melvin Van Peebles' Sweet Sweet Badass song, what blaxploitation had as three basic components. You had the plan to stick it to the white man. You had the mixed couplings. That was that. And then the other thing was the music. But I want to enlarge on the revenge aspect, that component, because when we talk about the plan to stick it to the man, get whitey, some people call blaxploitation get whitey films. That's all these films are about, retribution and black vengeance. Eldridge Cleaver, he said, don't flatter yourself thinking that the black man is purely or intentionally, solely after the white woman for aesthetic purposes. No, don't flatter yourself. A lot of it is for revolutionary feelings.
We're talking black with Charles Woods. Today's topic is the white woman, the black man's kryptonite.
My analysis of this imagery from a propagandistic perspective, from the way we've been programmed by film, there's a corollary. There's this projection, the projector, framed images are screened. The people who decide what we see are gatekeepers. They're doing the screening. They're doing the framing. And they're creating not representation of reality, especially a representation of us as a people, but it's a representation of us in an intentional way to show us based on not who we are, but a projection of how the dominant, so-called dominant society wants us to be seen. These images will come back to hurt us.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday at the lake?
Yes.
I just looked at the map and it said this map is fine to barbecue.
No, it's not.
It
for
does.
Charcoal, not for charcoal.
Nautica,
You
did
can
I
have
just
a
send it to you?
non-charcoal grill, but not a charcoal grill.
There is an African American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
Please move, ma'am.
I can. Do you live here?
I already answered that question. Excuse me.
I'm
Ma'am, stop
sorry.
touching me.
The keypad is right there.
I understand that, ma'am. But
You can film me. That's
okay,
fine.
I understand, ma'am, but you're blocking me. and I live
Into
here.
my building.
Okay, and
Okay.
it's my building as well, so I need you to get out my way.
Okay, what
Okay?
unit?
I don't need to tell you that information.
In conclusion, what I want to say is this. People can fall in love. Me personally, I'm not going to say I don't doubt that there are some people outside of our race who can genuinely love us. And we can genuinely love them. But I feel that if I pursue a woman, if a black woman pursues a white man, if my mind isn't my mind, where I see myself and people who look like me as beautiful, I don't want to chase something because of the status it can give me. This issue, if it's discussed honestly and it's analyzed from a social political perspective, it goes deeper than falling in love with someone. It goes at the heart, at the root of it is where our heads are at. And it's very hard to overthrow the remnants of colonialism and imperialism. I don't need the misunderstanding that having the ability to have a white wife, it makes me feel better about myself. I'm not buying that. That's garbage for me. And that's what I feel these films, they engender this kind of feeling, this kind of belief system. And it's the one reason why we continue to be economically depressed, psychologically depressed, and as a so-called race behind the 8 ball.
Okay, well, thank you, Charles. Great presentation. We're going to reset the room, and then we're going to come back and take your calls if you can. This is the link to check in with us. If you want to join us live, make sure you have your camera on so we can see your face. I'm not picking anybody who I can't see their face, or if you want to just leave a comment in the chat, we will also address those as well. So stay tuned for part 2. Bravo, bravo. Can we give it up for Charles? Bravo. Great job, Charles. Thank you.
Appreciate that. There's so much that in the interest of time, a lot of people don't know how much work goes into a 3-minute trailer, or how much work we had to put into just putting this piece together. And Mike, I mean, you're giving me applause, but you're the filmmaker, and hey, you make me look better, and what you do with the segments I ask you to look at and we work on, it's a collaborative effort. But a lot of what the people are seeing, it may be some ideas I have or ideas we collaborate on, but you're the man who makes it work. So thank you for that.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. It's a team effort. So, but I think this is one of your best pieces, and we got record numbers tonight for the live stream. So I'm glad we were able to get all the technical issues worked out and start on time and solve all the problems we've had up until now. So we have a template. I know you have a meeting for template, but we have a template for us to continue these types of discussions. So we have a caller here. Do you want to talk to Dean, Charles?
Certainly.
Okay. And for those who aren't aware, the StreamYard link I'm posting in the chat. All you need to do is copy and paste it. Have your camera ready. If you don't have a camera, I'm not clicking you, but you're free to You're welcome to ask any question that you want in the chat, and Karen will post it on the screen, and we'll do our best to answer it. So, how you doing, Dean?
I'm doing all right. I've been following the discussion, much as I could.
Yeah, thank you for that. What are your thoughts? Did you have a question?
My question is this. I recently started following a lot of the retro movies, particularly from the late 60s and late 70s. I want to know if Brother Charles Woods ever heard of this movie called Good Luck, Miss Wyckoff, and what are his thoughts on that?
Good luck, Miss Wyckoff. Good question. Thank you.
Have you seen the film, Dean?
Good Luck, Miss Wyckoff.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Well, I'll tell you, not many people have seen it, and it depends on what version you get your hands on, because they cut that film to pieces. The brother in that film, he was a beast. It was his image. He was a beast. And one of the reasons why they didn't want to deal with that film after they released it and cut it up, because his image, the black man's image in that, was no holds barred. Here's a black beast. This guy is raping this teacher, having his way with her, and he didn't care who knew it. The white boys got wind of it, and that was the end of the teacher's career. But there are 3Ds in that film, and I told Mike, I said, man, you got to see Good Luck, Miss Wyckoff, because the brother in here, we kind of forgot about him, Mike, when I had this idea for putting on the baddest brothers on screen, and he was a no holds barred brother. So that's my response to that question on you have on that film, Dean.
Thank you, Dean. So we're waiting on Eric J to get his camera together, but in the meantime, we do have some questions that were in the chat. One of the questions related to Othello. Does Othello provide the template for this type of thing? Are there any precursors in literature that you're aware of, or is Birth of a Nation the bedrock foundation for these types of depictions?
Well, here's what I have in my soon to be published book on tricknology and cinema, or the history of black images in film. What we see on film, we have to realize what preceded film. And the racism that exists in film, it began in literature, the novels, the magazines, and then it went to stage, then it went to radio, then it went to television. So I say this imagery, this deplorable imagery that we see of ourselves, it lasts, it continues on and on and on. It lasts, L-A-S-T-S. That's my mnemonic, for it begins in literature. It goes to the airways, which is the radio. S for the stage. T is for the theater, the stage. And then S is for the screen, the movie screen. So we get it all back. But no art form has promoted this racist imagery of blacks in a way that can compare or parallel with film.
Great answer. Just checking, and Karen can check if there's any questions that are popping up in the chat. Go ahead, Charles.
Just to also bring it back to Othello, if she's familiar, if the question is familiar with Othello, do you see any of my 3Ds with Othello? Number one, Desdemona, this beautiful white girl. But the thing is, the devastation after Othello marries Desdemona, Aiello's upset, people are hostile, and there's this attempt to separate, get this black Moor from continuing to defile this white woman. And how does the play end? It ends where Othello, out of a rage of jealousy, where he feels that this woman, maybe she didn't really love him because he's a Moor, he's black. So he bought into all of the lies. He kills her.
Destruction.
We
got C on the line, just waiting for them to stabilize their camera. Okay, I see the smile. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Real Black TV.
Hi, you guys. Greetings.
Hey, welcome.
Can you hear
Thanks.
me?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, yeah. I just briefly want to say thank you to the both of you guys. I'm enjoying this broadcast, and I agree with you, Mr. Woods. I think, we are all one. We know this at the core, but because of what has happened to us as Black people, I think, like you said, Mr. Woods, unless our consciousness is at a certain degree, the reasons behind what we do with our counterparts, those white counterparts, may not always be authentic. I just wanted to say that, and thank you guys.
Thank you for tuning in, spending your time with us. Here's the thing. I mentioned the fact that we cannot get out of this system of racism because it's designed to make it continue. See, chaos and racism and all of this stuff is designed to keep us divided. We're divided over skin color. We're divided over religious beliefs. As I said before, there's the strategy of keeping a people under control is to find out how you can divide them. When you find out what you can use as a strategy to divide people, then you use it, you employ it. You know, the Crusades, that was a religious war. We had a viewer last week talked about the Irish and the British. Recently, someone's been under charge, the person who was the subject of Hotel Rwanda, but that was Africans killing Africans. From a Du Boisian perspective, in America, in any province, territory, under the control of white people, not all white people, an elite few, it's a 1% here that's accumulated all the wealth, and they want everything. That when people are at each other's throats, we can't thrive, we can't survive as a people. Okay, I can have issues. I've had issues growing up, and I'm supposed to be Black. I've had issues when there was a time when I was attacked by darker brothers than me over this light skin. It goes back to the field blacks and the house blacks. It's still a color issue. But the thing is, the only way we're going to get out of this nonsense is, as the young lady said, that consciousness, that's why I said the consciousness, we have to think not with the oppressor's mind, but we have to think with the mind of a reasoned mind. We have to realize that when we start seeing people as Muslims, as Christians, as blacks, as whites, we have in this country, when we see people based on color, I've always said it, then the problem is not human, Human, it's Hueman. It's a human problem. It's a color issue. And colorism is another factor that is at play in this kryptonite thing. This whole thing about black men chasing white women, black women chasing white men. But in the case of the subject we discussed tonight, another layer of this is that it's a way of continuing to separate the black man from the black woman by projecting the black woman as some undesirable creature.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a question. I lost it in the chat, but it was basically saying, you know, does this still continue, or is this an old way of thinking? This concept of, you know, haven't things gotten better in the past decade or two when it comes to interracial relationships? Or,
you know what? I don't want to inarticulately respond to that where I'm dismissing and not really respecting the question. But the thing is, I can't see anyone living in this country and not seeing that the idea of pluralism, melting pot, colorblindism, post-racial, those are ideals that have never been reached in this country, and they don't look like they'll be reached anytime soon, ever in this country. The only ideal in this context of white supremacy, the only way you can use ideal is, I say it's this way. The dominant white elite people who run this country, they run it and they play their racial card. And this is what they say by the structure that they put in place, the system they put in place. Ideal you in if you're like me, and I deal you out if you don't.
Preach. So I know, you know, we didn't have time to talk about the real to reality or real to reality as much in the piece as we had originally planned. You know, so, I mean, did you have any thoughts about that, as well as what can be done to correct these patterns that we see in American film?
Well, you brought up real to real. And in my conclusion, I touched on real to real. I touched on it in this way, Mike. Real, R-E-E-L, we see the imagery, which is a continuation of the imagery that started, as I said, in the literature. It played on the radio. It played on the stage. It played on the big screen. Now it's playing on television. The images we get, they're encoded so that they help promote discrimination. They help promote the idea that a certain people are not to be valued, that they're animals, they're beasts. How does it play out in the real world? R-E-A-L? Dylan Roof, South Carolina, 9 people he killed in the church. What was his reason? He said someone has to stop this black on white crime. There's no KK here. There's no neo-Nazis here. So I guess I have to do it. We just had the Chauvin trial for what he, as a police officer, did to a black man by the name of George Floyd. How this man took that man's life, George Floyd's life, it showed indifference. It's like he wasn't even dealing with a human being. You can't tell me that the mindset of Chauvin wasn't influenced by the culture he lives in, a racist culture that projects black men as animals. As I discussed last time when we did the theme of semionization, when you compare a people to animals, you dehumanize them, you make them a subhuman species, so that when you kill them, I mean, some people care more about a dog than they care about a black human being.
I'll let that one sink in. So we've got about 5 more minutes. I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to join the chat, but we're gonna try and keep this close to an hour. But the StreamYard link is right there in the chat, and you just have to have your device ready and click it, and you'll be given instructions on how to enter the studio, check your sound, and then you can join the chat. There was a question about Dutchman. Can you give a little more information about Dutchman and your breakdown on that film?
Well, I thought I kind of covered what Amari Baraka wanted to do with Dutchman. Dutchman try it, looking that up, seeing how much the DVD goes for. Okay,
yeah,
so
it's a suppressed film at this point.
Yeah, so if you can find a way to see it, what it is, Amari Baraka, what he did with that play is he pretty much used the characters to say what this theme is about, how the white woman can be used to destroy the black man. And as some of the comments that we got with the teaser, I agree. It's important, and this is why I say, sex has always been a weakness for men and women, but I think it's more of a problem for men, where if they can't control their sex urges, then they can be susceptible to a lot of things that will get them into trouble. And so what happened is, when you watch The Dutchman, the character's name is Clay, played by Al Freeman Jr. Clay, he's molded. He can be molded by the attention he's getting from this white. This white woman is playing him. She makes him break his cool, makes him come out of this veneer of being an educated black man. She turns him into where the N in him comes out. And once that comes out, then it's, yeah, I know who you really are. And who you really are is the threat. And I'm here to get rid of the threat. And once she eliminates him, then she takes her apple. The apple is symbolic of Eve in the garden, bites the apple, she's a temptress. Then she goes to the next black victim.
Love it. Repro Bus 963. Just give a thumbs up if you're ready to talk. Jules, we need to see your camera. You might have to leave the room to come back in. So we're gonna wrap it up very shortly. But we got Repro Bus 963 here. Welcome to the channel. How you doing?
Peace and blessings.
Are we doing sign language tonight?
Hey, can you hear me? You all right?
Now we can. Yes.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, no. I was scratching my hair.
Okay. Oh, there's a delay. Okay, I see
Let me
what's
turn
going
the
on.
volume up on this. Can you
there's
still
a
hear
little-
me? Are we all right?
I can definitely hear you. Just ask away. There's a slight delay.
All right, cool. Well, here's the thing. Interracial, married couple here, maybe like a year and a half, but I read a lot of books, so I'm gonna turn the mute on my speaker. Boom. Sorry, delay, obviously. But
yeah.
I was just curious as to always feeling like I'm just betraying the culture per se. But I know that I'm not. I'm constantly reading Mary Baraka. I have, Black Fire. I'm a big fan of Sun Ra. I didn't really see most of the program. I saw the trailer yesterday. I was really excited because it was just, relatable and something she and I could watch and, understand a little bit more about what's going on. But, you know, as one who does a lot of studies on, what we originally were and being who with I am, does that make sense? As you were talking about being in the right consciousness as to, to be with someone like on the other side of that perspective.
You're in an interracial relationship?
He's got a delay, so.
Okay.
He said, "Are you?" Okay, that's right. I can hear you. We're on the same page, me and Charles, but Repro's a little behind.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
You are in an interracial relationship? Okay. There's a scene from we showed it briefly.
Yes.
You know what scene I'm referring to? The one with Harry Belafonte from Island in the Sun. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I saw that.
Okay. So what happens is in the film, there are two interracial relationships. Dorothy Dandridge's character, where because she's a black woman, it's more tolerable when she goes off with a white man. Harry Belafonte's character is saying, for me, a black man, this won't be as tolerable as Dorothy's situation is. And he also uses the word, my skin is my country. And if I decide to mate with you, to make you my wife, my people will feel I betrayed them. What happens is this. In your relationship, one of the things that may make it work is like, I'll put it to you this way. If you've had a relationship with someone and you do not do what you need to do to be respectful of your partner, and you eventually break up, if you're a smart person, the next relationship, you're going to be more circumspect of not trying to bring what destroyed your previous relationship into the new one. So a dynamic plays out here where oftentimes when a black is involved with a white, there's more of a focus of one trying to give more respect to the other, because the last thing they want to do is to expose anything that may be there subconsciously, because it's inescapable because of the culture we live in. But what is important is that you never lose sight, if you have gone into your relationship with an awake consciousness, that what has brought you to this relationship It's not jungle fever. It's not sexual curiosity, but it's a genuine love for your mate. Let that be first and foremost the guiding
Right.
principle in your relationship.
Okay. Thank you. We got one last caller. Jules is ready. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you. Jules, you ready? Hey, you.
Hey, how are you guys?
I like your head wrap.
Yes.
Thank you. This was an interesting conversation and dialogue. We had this conversation at a previous Black Star Film Festival in regards to colorism and how we start to see racially ambiguous women being pushed to the forefront as a representative of Black women. And so that interracial conversation also was in there as well. And going back to what was discussed in regards to using the image of a Black man, and a very specific Black man, right? It's always the darker Black man. He always has some physical prowess. He's always the one that seems to be pining over, the white woman. It's never a mutual level adoration when it comes to certain things. So you see that replicated in music, wanting a snow bunny, or you see that replicated in images that people kind of put on a pedestal for certain things, even with commercials. I had a conversation with one of my friends and she was saying, why is it seems like you can never see two Black people as a couple on a commercial? You always see like interracial couple, you always see like a very racially ambiguous woman, but you never see like two all Black people as a couple. And that's the majority, right? The majority of society and the population is intraracial, not interracial. But that is something that is deliberately put into certain things. And going back to the Birth of a Nation, is meant to give license to kill, basically. Like, this is the reason why we can't trust Black men. This is the reason why we have to kill them. This is why you have to keep them away from your daughters, keep them away from our wives, because they are such sex demons that they will go and rape and pillage and destroy your legacy. Because it goes back down to legacy. What happens if your white daughter dates a Black man and have a mixed race baby? Well, that means your legacy and your bloodline slowly starts to die down. And so that really goes back to having that patriarchal power over society, having that power in the bloodline, having that financial power, because that wealth goes down in the male lineage. And so that really is why it's such an indoctrinated and perpetuated theme throughout film and music and so on.
Good points.
Well, Jules, I should have asked you to deliver this thing.
You touched on all the stuff that we were about to that we missed in the conclusion.
But let me say one thing you mentioned that I want to make sure I didn't mention in terms of what is another layer of this imagery, and you touched on it: colorism. Now, your phenotype is not marketable in Hollywood. And the reason why it's not marketable is because who runs the movie business, the movie industry? And they've already concluded that I can't sell that image. That image we already have a history of that image being ugly. Now, let me tell you, so you get where I'm coming from. That screen is powerful. And they realize that. I'm going to make this point right clear, because I don't want you to think that I don't see you as a beautiful Black woman, a beautiful woman. But I'm going to make this point to you to show you the power of the screen. Do you know who the Black man was that they wanted to promote as a romantic figure in the 1950s? Actor?
50s. I was gonna say Sidney Poitier, but
let me cut
it
to
may
the
not
chase.
be it.
Harry Belafonte.
I was gonna say him next because he had some problematic commentary back in the day too. Harry Belafonte.
But Harry, you see, they could sell Harry. In fact, there was one time when Harry was gonna be paired with Dorothy Dandridge. Mm-hmm. There's a report that they said to Dorothy, "We have a co-star for you. He may be the only one who's prettier than you are." But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Harry would not accept the film roles they wanted to give him. He turned down Porgy and Bess. He said, "I will not be a black man on my knees." Mm-hmm. He could turn it down because he had other ways of making a living.
Right.
Sidney was different. Sidney had to make it in Hollywood. But one thing they learned, the role Sidney had and the persona and the beauty, that black man was loved by blacks and whites. 1967, he was the biggest box office star, not black man, but biggest black box office star, black or white. He was the man. People, women, everybody, they loved him because what came through with Sidney is not so much, it's what a lot of people are saying, how come we got to see color? What they saw, what was captured was Sidney's persona, his humanity. That's what people fell in love with. Mm-hmm. When we can arrive at an ethos in society that has people fall in love not with color, but with character and content of people's character. When we can fall in love with people being people, this world would be a better place. And the only way that's going to start, I'm not saying to eliminate ambiguous black women and men from movies, stop using the high yellows, and stop making all these interracial pairings. But I'm saying, give us some more Viola Davises and Lupita Nyong'os. Let us see black men loving them. Let's have that image promoted. And if that image is promoted, it will catch on. But the reason why it doesn't catch on, because they won't promote it. And in conclusion, the dark black men you say, who they show, that phenotype, a lot of people don't know this, but I do. They don't want to appear opposite dark women.
Oh no, that there was a conversation that was had as well too, because it was like almost this polarizing thing where the dark-skinned men seem to always have an issue with dark-skinned women. It was never, the other way around. Like it was never like the light-skinned men really perpetuating stereotypes and saying things about dark-skinned women. It was really like the dark-skinned men, and different things like that. And even to your point with the actresses, there are certain actresses, but there's also like certain phenotypes, right? The sidekick or the mammy, or if you are the love interest, you got to go through struggle love. You're abused. You're down road and you're trodden. You take a man back after he cheated on you because he got sick and ended up in a wheelchair. Like those different storylines are the ones that are perpetuated.
Every Tyler Perry movie.
Pretty much, right? Every storyline.
Yeah.
But that's really what's perpetuated. Like, okay, you're good enough for this love. You can love, but this is what you're good for. This is the love you get this love right here, but you're not gonna get this other love.
So before we go, what now that we're away from the interracial relationships, what black love stories do you appreciate? Love and Basketball just came out on Criterion this week. What are some of your favorites?
Aesthetically and visually, just looking at certain stories, I enjoy it for the art. But when it's like, when you go into the analytical and psychological, it's like, I don't know. Love and Basketball, Love Jones. It's like, you start to see like, even with Dwayne and Whitley from A Different World, it's like when you start to analyze the psychology behind the dynamics of that relationship, you're like, maybe that wasn't so good. Like, so you didn't want her until she was actually getting married and you interrupt her happiness with a guy that actually loved her. to suddenly profess your love at her wedding day. Why didn't you do that before her wedding day? It's like certain different things. When you look at it, it's like it was like, oh, that's so cute. And then when you like start to really look at it and really analyze it, you're like, no, that wasn't good. So
when you get a chance, take a look at these are my favorites: Nothing But a Man and Claudine. Those
I like
two.
Claudine. I did watch that. That's with James Earl Jones, right?
And Diane Carroll, the late great Diane Carroll. Yeah, take a look at those. Those are classic romances with Black people, and that'll be one of our topics in the future. So I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much,
thank you.
Jules.
Thanks, Jules.
So, all right. In closing, any final thoughts, Charles, as we wrap this up?
I just hope we're just trying to put content up that a lot of times I'll say to you, Mike, I want to do this, I want to do that, and some people say, why you keep going back and whatnot, but I want it to be relevant to the present, where the past is prologue. But I'll tell you one thing, and this is what I'd be looking forward to, is more of our viewers like Jules, Rogus, the people who've called in, the people who leave comments on some of the stuff we do. I learned so much from that, because here's the thing. I'm going to conclude with this. Each one, teach one. I may say things you don't agree with, but I always say you don't have to agree with me, but we don't have to be disagreeable in how we see things, because we're, as someone said, if we don't hang together, we'll hang separately. So we're all in this fight together. But I genuinely love our viewers, and I respect their comments. I respect the support they give us, and I just hope they'll help us grow, pass the word, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and we can only do one thing, is to grow together and to learn together, and someday we'll finally arrive at that point where we got it together.
Right on. So I want to thank you first of all, Charles. Thank you for participating, being a part of our lives and sharing your wisdom. I want to thank the viewers for hanging in there. This is our biggest, most viewed live stream ever. We've got a few hundred people in the room right now, and a few thousand have tuned in the last hour and a half. So we want to thank you, and big shout outs to Ms. Cosmo Energy for moderating the chat room, and Karen Walker for doing the technical direction. So hopefully we'll be back next week. We've got to come up with a topic. Melvin Van Peebles might be something that we discuss, but we'll figure it out between now and then, and we'll see you at the movies. And I'll give you the last word, Charles.
Peace and blessings to the real Black family. I love you.